Most sports supplements don't work, or at least not the way you think. The fitness industry is worth billions, filled with powders, pills, and promises. But when you strip away the marketing hype, only a small handful of legal supplements are actually proven to improve performance. So in this video, we're breaking down what really works based on science, not trends. Here's the reality. Supplements are not magic. They don't replace training. They don't fix a bad diet. And they definitely don't turn you into a pro athlete overnight. But some of them can really be useful. When you zoom out and look at high-quality evidence, randomized trials, meta-analyses, and systematic reviews, you're left with a small core group that actually works. Creatine. Let's start with creatine. Creatine is the king of supplements. If there's one supplement that consistently delivers noticeable results, it's this one. It's one of the most researched supplements ever and is best for strength, sprinting, and jumping. It helps your muscles regenerate energy faster, which means more reps, more power, and better performance in high-intensity efforts. Creatine entered the sporting scene in the early 90s. It's known that it was used by some athletes at the 1992 Barcelona Olympics, and the first commercial creatine supplement hit the market in 1993. Creatine is a substance naturally occurring in the human body, produced from the amino acids glycine, arginine, and methionine. Roughly 95% of creatine is stored in the muscles, with the rest found in other tissues like the brain. In the body, creatine turns into creatine phosphate, which helps regenerate the fundamental energy unit, ATP, adenosine triphosphate. When ATP is broken down for energy, it creates ADP, adenosine diphosphate, and a phosphate group. If ADP gains a phosphate back from creatine phosphate, it becomes ATP again, ready for more muscle work. ATP stores in the muscles are very small and only last for a few seconds of work. The more creatine phosphate in your muscles, the faster ATP can regenerate during performance. However, the ATP creatine phosphate system is time-limited. It provides most of the energy only for the first 5 to 6 seconds of work, after which its contribution drops rapidly. Consequently, creatine is of little value for endurance sports lasting over 150 seconds, where the body relies on oxidative phosphorylation. Beyond energy, creatine may have other benefits. A 2006 study showed that 6 grams of creatine daily can activate satellite cells, which serve as reservoirs for cell nuclei. Once activated, these nuclei enter muscle cells, increasing their growth potential. After 16 weeks of training, muscle fiber nuclei increased by 13% with creatine, though a group taking 20 grams of milk protein saw an 11% increase, so the relative effect is small. It certainly doesn't compare to steroids, which can increase nuclei count by 35 to 50% in the same time frame. Creatine users in that study also saw a 17% increase in muscle cross-section, but much of this is due to water retention. This leads to significant weight gain during a cycle. However, this water absorption is generally beneficial for creating an anabolic environment. When you stop taking creatine, the water flushes out, weight drops, and most training gains may disappear. This is the key difference between creatine and steroids. Creatine is primarily an energy replenisher, so its effect is largely temporary, whereas steroids trigger actual tissue growth. The body only produces about 1 gram of creatine daily, and intake from meat is limited. To get a standard 5-gram dose, you'd need to eat 1 kilogram of pork or half a kilogram of herring. Thus, supplementation is rational. For the fastest saturation, a loading phase of 15 to 20 grams daily for 1 week is recommended, followed by a maintenance dose of 3 to 5 grams. You can start with 3 to 5 grams, but you'll reach maximum concentration later, after about 3 to 4 weeks. Absorption is faster when combined with carbohydrates. Supplementation can increase muscle creatine concentration by about 25%, and your strength gains may mirror this. Vegans and vegetarians may see an increase up to 40% due to lower baseline stores. People with more fast-twitch fibers also absorb more. Conversely, regular meat eaters have higher natural stores and may respond less. Roughly 25 to 30% of people are non-responders, a group that disproportionately includes women. Once capacity is full, excess creatine is excreted in urine. Long-term high doses are pointless and only strain the kidneys. Still, if a blood test shows high creatinine, a metabolic byproduct, don't panic. It's a common side effect of creatine supplementation. A urea blood test is a better indicator of actual kidney health. While many forms exist, creatine monohydrate is the most common. Other forms are often marketing hype and haven't proven more effective. Some, like creatine ethyl ester, are actually less effective as they break down too quickly into creatinine. Creatine is generally well tolerated, and concerns about kidney damage or cancer have not been substantiated at recommended doses. While carcinogens can form from creatine when cooking meat at high temperatures, this isn't relevant to supplements. However, those with pre-existing kidney disease should be cautious. An interesting question is whether it is better to take creatine long-term or cycle it. The theoretical rationale for cycling is to prevent the decrease of endogenous creatine production and maintain responsiveness. However, there are very few randomized clinical trials directly comparing cycling versus continuous use. Existing literature shows no evidence that cycling improves outcomes compared to continuous use. My personal experience is also limited and ambiguous, as creatine cycling leads to sharp drops in performance, which has an unpleasant psychological effect. However, if you have your own experiences, you can write them in the comments. On a personal note, over more than 2 decades, I have noticed differences in effectiveness between creatines of different consistencies. Crystalline creatine, like Creapure, works great for me, while floury textures, often from Chinese sources, repeatedly led to a drop in my performance. I even had one lab tested. It was 100% creatine. Yet, it remained ineffective for me, and I've found no scientific explanation for this mystery. If you've had similar experiences, let me know in the comments. The final verdict. To sum up our review, creatine is by far the most effective sports supplement ever discovered. If you are involved in strength or explosive sports, it is a clear choice for you. Although creatine primarily functions as an energy booster and doesn't guarantee you a sustained performance improvement like SARMs or anabolic steroids, it's still an excellent recovery tool. You'll have much more energy during your workouts. However, there are also other legal supplements that provide significant performance improvements in medium-duration sports activities. We will look at those in another video. If you found this helpful, hit like, subscribe, and don't forget to check out my other videos on this topic.